Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone back again today evening for the continuation of the series on Bhagavad Gita. So as I have said many times, we are looking based on the Gita-artha Sangraha by Sripad Yamunacharya and also the commentary of Sripad Ramanujacharya. So currently we are doing the 4th chapter. So we will read this particular verse where Yamunacharya has summarized the entire 4th chapter. Prasangat swasvabhavoktihi karmano karmatasya cha veda jnanasya mahatmyam chaturtha dhyaya uchyate. So chaturtha dhyaya means the 4th chapter. So what are the contents of the 4th chapter? He's saying, so there are 4 topics which Krishna discusses in this. Prasangat swasvabhavoktihi. So the first topic is his own nature of coming to this world, right? Which is what is from 4.1 to 4.11. And that is Prasangat. Somehow Krishna spoke about it. The second part that we discussed last time was Karmano Akarma Tasya. Karmano Akarma Tasya means how to see karma in akarma. That means in Karma Yoga itself, how to see Jnana Yoga. So we discussed this last time quite elaborately, that akarma he uses here in the context of Jnana Yoga. Okay, so this word akarma generally is translated, one translation is inaction, which is Prabhupada's translation we see. But inaction, Ramanacharya explains that word akarma, inaction, as Jnana Yoga, because the whole topic in 3rd, 4th, 5th chapter is whether to do Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. And there is nothing else that is under discussion right now. Okay, so karmano akarma tasya means how in Karma Yoga itself Jnana Yoga is embedded, right? And this is what we saw last time. Veda, this is the 3rd part of the 4th chapter. Veda means the different types of Karma Yoga. And the 4th part is Jnanasya Mahatmyam. Now somebody may say Jnanasya Mahatmyam literally means the greatness of Jnana Yoga. So why should Krishna talk about Jnana Yoga suddenly when he's glorifying Karma Yoga only? So the point is here the Jnana Yoga is not, the Jnanasya Mahatmyam, Jnana is not about the Jnana Yoga, but it is about the Jnana that is embedded in Karma Yoga. Okay, so this whole 4th chapter is about how one has to do Karma Yoga along with that Jnana, and that Jnanasya Mahatmyam. So that is the 4th part of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Chaturtha Dhyaya Uchyate. In this way, in a very beautiful verse, he has summarized these 4 themes of the 4th chapter. Now, in some way, if you see, like we always say, that everything in the Vedic scriptures is defined as Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. So karmano karma tasya cha in a way is sambandha, because here the topic is about the connection, the knowledge aspect. And today what we are going to see Veda is literally Abhideya, because we are going to see different types of Karma Yoga. And if you remember last time I made this point that this word Vikarma that comes in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ramanuja translates that as Vividha Karma. Very interesting, because Vikarma you may see it as forbidden act also. But here he uses this particular translation as Vividha Karma. That means different types of Karma Yoga. And that is what Veda. So that is like Abhideya. And the Mahatmyam is the Prayojana. Okay, so what is the use of doing all this? So this we will see next time. Right. So in this way, beautifully in the 4th chapter, these particular interesting themes of Karma Yoga are being covered. Right. So now, if you see, last time we spoke about the second part, Karmano Akarma Tasya, how in Karma Yoga itself to see Jnana Yoga. So I'm just quickly recapping that. So if you remember in the 18th verse, Krishna said that Karmani Akarma Yapashe. That means in Jnana Yoga one should see Karma Yoga, and in Karma Yoga also one should see Jnana Yoga. So you remember we discussed all these verses. And Yasya Sarve Samarambha Kama Sankalpa Varjitaha. That means every action devoid of desire for Kama, and Sankalpa means we defined it as attachment to bodily consciousness. Jnanagdi Dagda Karmanam. So in this way, the verses up till 24, in fact, the 24th verse was also very interesting. That was the last part of the second part of the 4th chapter. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So this word Brahma is coming so many times in this verse, where very clearly the understanding is that everything that is being done by the Karma Yogi is Brahman only, right? So if someone is doing something with his, whatever instruments he is using to do the Karma Yoga, that is also part of Brahman only. And the body is also Brahman, and he's offering also it to Brahman, Parabrahman. So that is how that verse is seen. So with this mood, when one works, then in the Karma Yoga only, the Jnana Yoga gets embedded. That is how so beautifully Krishna is integrating, right? Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, everything in the Bhagavad Gita. Now we are coming to the third part, which is very, very interesting. Different types of Karma Yoga. Why I am calling this part specifically interesting is because generally, in India also, most people, when they hear Karma Yoga, their only understanding is, Karma Yoga means Krishna is just simply talking about how to, that just, one should work in the world or whatever, and that is Karma Yoga, right? So this is the general understanding that people have about Karma Yoga, right? But here, if you see carefully, Krishna is talking about different types, and we will go through them one by one. And I think as we go through this, we will also be able to appreciate that that so many things that we see in our Indic culture, where people are engaged in so many types of acts, they actually turn out to be Karma Yoga. So anyway, so without wasting much time, we'll go into the verses. So today we're beginning from 4.25. Devameva pare yajnam yoginah paryupasate brahmagna vapare yajnam yajne vainopa juhvati. So Devameva pare yajnam, right? So Krishna is saying that apare means others. So this word apare is to be used for all the subsequent verses that are coming in this section, because Krishna is talking about different types. And the first type he's talking about is Devameva pare yajnam. That means some people are there who worship, who do yajna to the devata, correct? So to the devata. So this is called as, and these are called as yogis. So please remember, in this chapter, whenever the word yogi comes, it is karma yogi, because in the first 6 chapters, primarily it is a karma section. So Krishna is talking about karma yogi here. Okay. So actually yajna, devameva pare yajna. Yajna means to do whatever is pleasing to the devata. That is the meaning of the word yajna. Yaja deva pujyam dhatu. Okay, so we have to understand that yajna is not limited to fire sacrifices. For example, somebody may sing for the devata, somebody may go to the holy place of the devata. All that is considered as yajna only, right? Because all that is done to please the devata. When we look at this particular thing as Karma Yoga, immediately a question would come that in 4th chapter we just learned previously. In fact, in the 4.12, Kankshata Karmana Siddhim Yajanti Iha Devata, where Krishna talks about some people who, for quick results, they worship the devatas. And in general, Krishna has not looked at that very favorably in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So in 4.12 also he talks about it. And later, when we go ahead in the 7th chapter, 9th chapter also, we will see verses where Krishna has not... Krishna has always said that those who are interested in temporary fruits worship the devata. Then, but here Krishna is saying that those who are worshipping, they are doing yajna for the devata, they are counted as one type of karma yogi. So someone may say, "Arey, these two look quite contradictory," because in one place he is saying that those who are worshipping devata for these lesser fruits, they are less intelligent. On the other hand, here he is talking about them as yogi. So how is that possible? So we have to understand that we'll have to come to a common median between both these ideas. So if someone is worshipping Devi Devata just to get various fruits, then that is considered as less intelligent, or not considered as yogi category by Bhagavad Gita. But there are many people, or there may be people who may be doing worship to their deity, to their devata, just as a matter of duty. Okay, that means without that expectation per se, without any specific expectation, just as a matter of duty. So we cannot say that nobody is like that, because the very fact that Krishna has included them here under Karma Yoga means that such people also exist, where people do yajna to the devata just as a matter of duty, just because it has to be done. They do it. And such people have been called as yogis here. Okay, so this is the first category, right? And the second category is basically Brahmagna Vapare Yajnam Yajne Vemo Pajuhvati. That means people who do fire sacrifices. Brahmagna here obviously means, here the word Brahma, Brahmagna Vapare Yajnam Yajne Nevo Pajuhvati. That means one is offering something to the Brahma. Okay, so Prabhupada uses this for talking about the impersonalists. But here Ramanacharya uses the same verse and the same words to talk about those who do yajna. Okay, that means those who do fire sacrifices. There are so many people, right? I mean, we always see around that people do fire sacrifices. Correct. It's very common even in today's world. They do some yajna, and if the yajna is bona fide, as in it is based on proper Vedic ideas and principles, if somebody does a yajna, we should not condemn it, or we should. So from this part of Bhagavad Gita, we also understand that we have to be very sensitive when we look at people doing many things, right? Like somebody may be worshipping Ganesh, various devatas they may be worshipping. It's not always that they are doing it because they want something from that devata. They may be doing it because it's their family tradition, because it has to be done as a matter of duty. They may be doing it, right? So it is likely that they may be doing it in that mood as well, because Krishna has given them a place. And similarly, even fire sacrifices, right? So here the second part of this verse talk about fire sacrifice as a type of karma yoga. So these are all different types of karma yoga. Here basically when Krishna is saying Brahmagna vapare yajnam yajne nevo pajuhvati, that means 2 times the word yajna is coming, if you see carefully. So one yajna is what we call as the sacrifice, and the other yajna is the ingredient. That means somebody is offering some havis, some ghee, something into the sacrificial fire. Then that offering is also called as yajna only. Okay. And the offering process is called yajna. So that is why 2 times the word yajna comes in 4.25. Right. So Krishna is basically talking about fire sacrifices also as a type of karma yoga, So this is why, we always call Gita as a book of choices, because Krishna has given so many choices to people in this world. It's like when we look at these verses, we can really appreciate the magnanimity of Krishna and his teachings, where he accommodates so many people, right? And when we look around and we see people worshipping devatas, we see people doing fire sacrifices. So from the perspective of this verse, we could appreciate that all these people are also doing some type of karma yoga only, because Krishna has included them in as types of karma yoga. And this will be clear when we come to the 4.32, where Krishna says all these are the different types of yoga. So we will come to that very soon. Anyway, let's go to the next verse. So okay, now at this point of time, somebody may say that, or a question may come, but we always thought karma yoga means to do the varnashram dharma, or to do the the nitya karma of the individual, like Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Everybody has a nitya karma, their daily duty which they are supposed to do. Yes, that is also a type of karma yoga only, and that will come ahead. But Krishna has included all these also as different types of karma yoga. So in commentary, Ramanacharya says that even if somebody is doing his varnashrama dharma, he always has some extra time, right? So suppose if somebody is, someone is Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or whatever he is, he may be doing his regular duty in terms of Varna and Ashram, but besides that, he will have some time. So in that extra time, he may do one of these. As a karma yogi, he may be worshipping some deity, he may be doing a fire sacrifice, he may be doing one of these 13 items. So we are going to see 13 different types of karma yoga in this set of 7-8 verses. And then if you include varnashram and one more that would come up, then it will almost become 15 different types. Okay, so these are to be done besides his regular varnashram duty as Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, not instead of that. So this also will be clear as we go ahead. Okay, now if you look at 4.26, again, beautiful word, Shrotadin Indriyanyanye Samyam Agnishu Juhvati, Shabdadin Vishayanyanya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. Okay, so in this particular verse, 4.26 and 27, Krishna is going to talk about 3 more types of karma yoga, which are their purpose is to develop some kind of vairagya in this world. Okay, so now we have to also appreciate why these things are spoken under karma yoga, because the thing is, if you remember, we have been always saying that, we have been seeing in the previous sections as well, that a karma yogi has a particular mood where he is detached, he does things, he doesn't fall to the duality, he tries to protect himself from the duality of this world and so on. The question may come, how can one develop such a consciousness, right? Because till now we have seen in the 3rd chapter and the first part of 4th chapter the various ingredients which are part of the consciousness of a karma yogi. The question now is, how do you achieve that consciousness? Okay, so one is, there is so much spoken about the right kind of consciousness for a karma yogi, but then the real question is, how does one achieve that, right? How does one achieve that particular state? Because simply by saying that one should do Nishkama Karma Yoga, etc., how do you come to that? Okay, so that is why we understand that every yogi, beginning with the Karma Yogi, also needs to develop some kind of vairagya. Okay, some kind of vairagya from enjoying this world. Now, this vairagya is not in the sense of renouncing action, but it is in the sense of reducing or keeping in check one's tendency to enjoy the world. And that is what Krishna is speaking in the next 2 verses. Okay. So Shrotavyan Indriyananya means, so this again translation, Ramanacharya, is very similar to that of Srila Prabhupada. The same thing, that Shrota, so basically, okay, so just before I go into this, one more thing. To obtain vairagya, there are 3 items that are going to be spoken in these 2 verses, 26 and 27. One is the indriya. Indriya means the senses. One is the vishaya. Vishaya is the sense object. And the third is the manaha, that is the mind. Okay, so all these 3 are considered important aspects where one has to have some check with one's senses, with the objects of senses, and with one's mind. And there is a Upanishadic verse that says, Indriyepya para arthepya param manaha. That is, the easiest is the senses to subdue, to keep it under check. Senses are considered easiest. More difficult than the senses is the object of senses. Okay, so just like, for example, I want to control my eyes or ears or whatever from doing wrong things. That is relatively easy. But a mobile phone that is there, which is an object of sense, that is even more distracting than the sense itself. Okay, so the objects of senses are considered higher than the senses in terms of their ability to disturb us. But even if the object of senses are kind of subdued, if we have managed some kind of decent control over them, our mind is there, which is again a third demon, which is troubling us in terms of trying to enjoy the world. So it's very clear that, so in these 2 verses, Krishna is talking about all these 3, right? So first one is in Shrotadin, that means just, Shrota means the hearing process. So Shrot Adina means such as, right? Shrotadin, Indriyanyanye, so all the other senses, Samyam Agnishu Juhvati. So here the beauty is, in the entire Karma Yoga process, Krishna presents all these different types of Karma Yoga also as a yagya, as a type of offering, right? So if you remember in the previous verse also, when we saw the first and second type of Karma Yoga, which I discussed, Devata worship or fire sacrifices, everything was discussed discussed as an offering in a yajna. Okay, so that is how Krishna is talking about these different types of karma yoga as a yajna. Okay, so here he is saying that there is this Agni called as Samyama Agni. Samyama Agni means, Samyama means restraint and Agni means the fire. Okay, so Samyama Agnishu means the fire of restraint. I mean, that means so there is this fire of restraint. In that, one is supposed to offer the senses, which basically means that one has to, right? One has to offer the senses into that fire of restraint. That means, essentially, it means keep your senses under restraint. Okay, now the second part of this verse, he says, Shabdadin Vishayanyanya Indriyagnishu Juhvati. Here he says Shabdadin Vishayanyanya. That means he's now talking about the object of the senses. The object of the senses, like sound, vibration, and so on and so forth. Right? There is sight, there is sound, there is objects that we smell, objects that we taste, objects that we touch. So all these are the 5 objects of senses. So these 5 objects of senses, Krishna says you offer it to Indriya Agni. Okay, Indriya Agni Shujuhvati. Okay, so that means, so here the Agni is the senses. So literally, if you see this particular verse, it is as if Krishna is saying, offer the sense objects into the fire of the senses. Seemingly, it means as if enjoying senses is karma yoga. Because that is what is the the direct understanding from these words. Okay, but Ramanujara says no, we cannot consider that as a meaning. So the idea here, he says, is homa of sense object. I mean, sense object has to be offered means it has to be, when you offer something in the fire, it means it is gone now. That means the sense object is not supposed to increase now in your life. It is supposed to be gone. So that means the idea is, he says, break some kind of connection between sense objects and the senses. So basically, he talks about this as a process of vairagya. This is every karma yogi will have to exercise restraint with the senses and also with the sense objects. That means offer it in the fire of senses, as in destroy the connection between the sense and the sense object. Destroy that. Okay, because if there is too much contact between them and they are not destroyed, ati sangamam, that would trouble the yogi. So he says that we should have only connection to that many objects so that we can be peaceful. And to the extent we should, there means some detachment from sense object is important. So that is how this particular verse is presented. So that means some kind of this vairagya is also considered as a type of karma yoga only. Okay, so this is the 4th type that we saw. Then in 4.27, he talks about the next type of karma yoga. Sarvanindriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyama yogagno juhvati jnana dipite. Right. So here what he Krishna what he says is, he's talking about mind control. Okay. Sarvanindriya karmani means your jnana and your karmindriya, all these things. And prana karmani, that means your prana also, they are offered to atma sanyama. Atma sanyama yogagni means, here again, it's the fire of mental control. In fact, right? So that is also the translation of Srila Prabhupada. So here Atma again doesn't mean the soul, it means the mind. Atma sanyama here means mental control. Okay, so that means he's saying that all your jnana and karmendriya are to be offered into it. Offered into it as in, again, the same meaning. That one is not too much attached to these two things. That means whatever is just needed, one indulges only in that with the jnana indriya and karma indriya. Other than that, one is not supposed to indulge. Okay, so this is also spoken as a type of karma yoga. And how does one do this? How does this fire come? Jnana dipite. So Krishna says, for this you need some jnana, okay, which has been already discussed earlier. Okay, so in these 2 verses, Krishna is talking about 3 types of sacrifice of the senses, the sense object, and the mind, to develop some kind of vairagya which every yogi needs. Okay, so it's not that this vairagya is needed only by some advanced yogi. Even in the beginning stages of karma yoga also, a karma yogi also needs to have this type of vairagya. Otherwise, he will not develop that mood only of Karma Yoga, because we have said so many things about Karma Yoga earlier. But how do you actually end up over there? Unless you do this, you will not end up there. You are just somewhere lost. Okay. Now in the next verse, in the 28th verse, Krishna is talking about 5 different types of Karma Yoga. Okay, so we will look at all of that. Dravya Yajna, Tapo Yajna, Yoga Yajna, Tata Pare, Swadhyaya Jnana Yajnasya, Yataya Samshaya Vrataha. So 5 things he is talking here. So the first one, so till now, if you remember, we have already discussed 5 types of Karma Yoga. Now we are in this one verse only, there are 5 types. First is Dravya Yajna. Dravya Yajna means charity of objects. Okay, it's very interesting. Charity of objects or one's possessions. Okay, so that's why if you see, if you remember once, very long back, we had discussed from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's article, where he talks about the importance of Grihastha to give charity of objects like clothes, like food, grains, correct? So different types of possessions are also to be given in charity. And if you generally see in traditional Hindu system, this was always there, where people would give charity of things. Okay, and when we see people doing like this charity of things in the world, okay, maybe from a very evolved Bhakti Yoga level, one may feel that, oh, they have not come to that level. But at least one can be happy that they are doing something, because that's considered as Karma Yoga here, to give dravya, to give your dravya, to give one's possessions. That is the first thing. The second thing Krishna is talking is dravya yajna, tapo yajna. Tapo means tapasya. So here tapasya means to increase the fire in the body. Okay, so how do you increase that? By fasting. Okay, so that's why if you see in our Hindu system, everybody has some kind of fasting, right? I mean, people actually do it. Like somebody, even if he's a Devi Devata Upasaka, he may be fasting on some Chaturthi or something, Somvar, some fasting they do, right? Like we do Ekadashi fasting. So now we have to actually look at this fasting tapasya as truly tapasya, as really fasting, and not generally look for some kind of shortcuts in that, as in try to think, okay, so this whole concept of anukalpa prasad means like we have all this varai, sabudana and all this stuff on Ekadashi. This is also supposed to be minimized. It's not that just because something is allowed, we make pizza of varai and there is a grand party on Ekadashi day. Sometimes devotees joke as well that on Ekadashi the feast is so grand that it's very difficult to. It's actually a great variety. It looks even sometimes more appealing than the normal feast, which in one sense breaks the whole concept of that tapasya. The whole idea is that fasting. So that's why if you see the calendar, the Vaishnava calendar we have also, there are so many fasting dates. So similarly, so please remember, this is not only for a bhakta, even for the normal followers of Sanatana Dharma, everybody has some kind of tapasya they are supposed to do. Some kind of fasting. The Vedas talk about fastings called as Chandrayanam, Prajapatyam. There are different types of fasting methods mentioned. Okay, so the only thing that is condemned is whimsical fasting or fasting for political reasons. As in that is not so much appreciated. Kind of just whimsically fasting on some day, because there are some days when you have to honor prasad, like Dwadashi, for example. So somebody cannot say that I'm going to fast on Dwadashi. No, so you will have to take prasad on Dwadashi day, right? So whimsical fasting is never supported, but the concept of fasting is there for everybody, and that is considered karma yoga. That's considered an anga. Anga means one part of karma yoga. So please try to appreciate why Krishna has mentioned all this, because unless somebody does all this, he cannot reach that consciousness of being detached. Remember when we discussed karma yoga earlier in 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, we spoke about how one should understand that the modes are engaged with the objects and I am not being engaged, right? So that was one aspect of karma yoga. Then another aspect was about anasakti, not having asakti towards the fruits. And another aspect of Karma Yoga was offering the fruits to the Supreme, doing it for the welfare of society. We discussed all this when we spoke about the third chapter. But the whole question is, how does one reach there? Okay, how does one reach there? So these are all parts of it, Karma Yoga. Because if somebody is not taking these aspects of Karma Yoga in one's life, it will be very difficult to reach that platform. So that is why tapasya has been mentioned here as a type of Karma Yoga, right? Dravya yajna, tapo yajna. The third type of yajna which Krishna has mentioned is called as yoga yajna. Okay, yoga yajna. So yoga can be looked at in so many ways. One is, of course, literally the yoga in terms of asanas and all that. But here Ramanujacharya talks about yoga as connection, because we also know this, right? Yoga, this word yoga means to unite, to connect. Okay, so he says yoga means to connect with Punya Kshetra. Okay, so that means going to Punya Kshetra, going to holy places, taking bath in the river. That is all he calls as yoga yajna, which so many common people also do, right? Of course, devotees would go to Mayapur, Vrindavan, etc. But we see that today, I was just reading in some article, it was saying that in recent times, so many people are going to holy places. In fact, it's been like the holy place tourism has increased phenomenally in India, it seems. I was just reading an article about it. Like today or tomorrow is going to be the last day of darshan in Kedarnath in the Himalaya. And it seems there is absolutely no place in Kedarnath today if you go. I was just reading about it. So jam-packed with people who have all the way gone to Kedarnath. So whatever we may say that people have not gone with a proper mood, this, that we may feel. But no, it's not like that. Anybody who goes to such holy places to take darshan of the deity, to pray to that particular devata, okay, it may be Lord Shiva or whatever it may be, but if they have gone there and they are cultivating these principles of Karma Yoga, that just going there as a matter of duty, okay, not to ask the Lord for so many benefits, but just doing it as a matter of duty, taking bath in the holy rivers, etc., as a matter of duty, as something that ought to be done. Because the Shastra says that one must take bath in the holy river, one looks forward for such opportunities to take bath in the holy river. So that is all considered here as yoga yajna. And then there is swadhyaya yajna and jnana yajna. Two more types of karma yoga mentioned. Swadhyaya yajna means reciting the Vedic scriptures. Okay, so this recital is considered very, very important. So it's not just, so one is about the philosophy, like we have all this class on Bhagavad Gita where we are hearing the meaning behind these words. But even reading the text is also considered very important, right? So Swadhyaya means to literally read the text, read the Vedas if one has the, that particular background where one is connected to the Vedas, to learn the Vedas, to recite the Vedas, or even to recite the Bhagavad Gita, to recite the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so reciting the verses is considered, because these verses have an amazing, they have a particular strength in it. And one shouldn't just think that I will only read the English or the translation. It is important to know the meaning, certainly. That's why we have all these classes to discuss the meaning of the verses. But at the same time, the verses themselves need to be read. That is actually Swadhyaya Yajna. Okay, so reciting the scriptures is considered Swadhyaya. Okay, so like we hear, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met that Brahmin in South India who was reciting Bhagavad Gita. It's not that he was just reading some translation in Tamil sitting there in Srirangam. He was actually reciting Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yutsava. He was reciting the verse. And Mahaprabhu was very happy to see him, because he asked him, why are you doing? He said, my Guru has asked me to do it. So he said, that's great. I mean, even though you are unable to do it properly, but still, you have actually understood the meaning of Gita, because you are following the order of your Guru, and you are going to get those realizations, which that Brahmin was actually getting. So that is why this is also considered a type of karma yoga. Okay. And then there is jnana yajna. One may say, "Arey, abhi to swadhyaya yajna ho gaya." We just read about swadhyaya yajna. So what is this jnana yajna now? It looks a little different. Jnana yajna. So Ramanujacharya, very beautiful explanation. He says, jnana yajna means, he says, to study Sanskrit, to study grammar, Vyakaran, to study, astrology. That means these are all called as Vedangas, right? If you know Shiksha, Vyakaran, Nirukti. So it's not that you have to study everything, but whatever you can, one may do it. And it's not even necessary that everybody has to do everything. But at least some of it somebody could do, right? So Jnana Yajna, because to study these Vedangas, these different angas of the Vedas, eventually helps one come to the path of dharma and study the Vedic scriptures better. Okay, so that is why this is also considered as a karma yoga. Yataya samshita vrataha. Yatayaha means they are not sannyasis, but they are those who are striving to do karma yoga. And samsritam vrataha means they develop a firm resolution to practice karma yoga, Krishna says. So 5 different types of karma yoga Krishna has mentioned. And I think this is very, very broad if you look at it. It encompasses so many people in the society. Another important take which I wish to make here for everyone to contemplate upon is that in our own families, when we are raising children and when we interact with our larger family members, sometimes I have noticed this at least, that sometimes there is a tendency to think that either we make them devotee or there is nothing. Okay, but it is actually not supposed to be like that. If they can take to the chanting of Hare Krishna and come up, that's great. Certainly, we welcome that. But even if you may see that somebody may not be able to do that, at least they should be connected to some aspects of these karma yoga. Krishna has given all these things in the Gita. Okay, so one shouldn't think that either one does something completely, or that means the option is not either you become a perfect devotee of Krishna or you're a bum in the street. No, so there is karma yoga where literally everybody can begin, right? Because there is no one in the world whom you cannot put under one of these things. Everybody will like one of it. Somebody will like to do Devata Puja, somebody may like to do fire sacrifices, right? Somebody may like to do some austerity, somebody may like to give possessions in charity, somebody may like to go to holy places, somebody may like to recite some Sanskrit slokas, right? Someone may like to just study grammar, Sanskrit grammar, Jyotisha, etc., which are all the Vedangas. And all these are considered as different types of karma yoga. So you can just please try to understand the breadth of opportunities that Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita, right? To attract people to the path. And he has not just said that that's why we always talk about Gita as a book of options. He has given options here, right? These are all the options that he has given. It's not that the only option comes in the Gita is between 12.8 and 12.12. So that aspect is there where Krishna gives either do this or this or this. But even here, if you see, Krishna is talking about different types of karma yoga only, which are all like, right? So everyone according to his nature and liking certainly will fit somewhere. And from there one can progress. That's the whole point here of the Gita. Right. Now, if you see 29 and 30, these are another 3 types of karma yoga. So till now, if you remember, we have discussed 10 types of karma yoga already. Now, another 3 types of karma yoga are coming in the next 2 verses. Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatapare prana pana gati rudva pranayama parayanaha. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. This is verse number 29. So actually, the verse number 29, if you see the Bhagavad Gita as it is also, you will see 3 lines in it. But if you see verse number 31, there is only 1 line in it, right? So the reason for that is because verse 29 and first part of verse 30 are considered as 1 verse only. That is why in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, you will see the 30th verse, first line attached with the 29th verse only. You will see 3 lines in the 29th verse. The reason for that, it is talking about one type of karma yoga. What is that type of karma yoga? It is about pranayama. So pranayama is also a karma yoga. Can you imagine here? 3 types of pranayama Krishna speaks here. All these 3 are considered karma yoga. One may say, how is this karma yoga? So let's try to appreciate this point that by simply doing pranayama properly also, your mind becomes subdued. It becomes calm and peaceful. And once that happens, all what we have been speaking about karma yoga, one can do. Okay, so that's why this is considered a process of karma yoga. Okay. So please try to understand there are three parts in pranayama. One is called purakam, which is inhaling. One is called rechakam, which is exhaling. And one is called kumbhakam, which is to hold. Okay, so I repeat again, there are three parts of pranayama: purakam, rechakam, and kumbhakam. So purakam means the process of inhaling, which is where the prana, that means the prana vayu is taken in, and that is till the chest. And so that is the focus. Rechakam is exhaling, and where the whole thing is this vayu coming out, especially the apana vayu, which is between your chest and your abdomen, and kumbhakam is told. So let's go into it. Let's go into it and understand what Krishna is saying here. So the basic theme in this verse is Krishna is talking about three types of pranayama here. Three types of pranayama means three types of focus in pranayama, where one focus is on inhaling, the other is on exhaling, and the other is on holding the breath. Okay, so let's try to understand one thing. Obviously, somebody who inhales will also exhale only at some point. It's not that he'll just keep inhaling, but the focus is on inhaling. Okay, the focus is on inhaling. So that means the first type of karma yoga here is forcing the prana vayu towards the apana vayu. Okay, apane juhvati pranam. Apane juhvati pranam means you offer the prana vayu into the apana vayu. Okay, are you getting this point? Because inhaling means what? You are taking in prana vayu, and where is that going? You are taking a deep breath inside, so you are offering it literally into the apana vayu. Okay, so that apana vayu here becomes like the fire, and the prana vayu is what you are offering. So again, it's like a yajna, where you can see the offering of the prana into the apana as a yajna. Okay, so like that. And others focus on the opposite. Okay, that means others focus on the opposite. What is the opposite? The exhaling process, where the apana is given to the prana. Prane panam tata pare. That is the second part of the first line. Prane panam tata pare means the apana vayu. That means where the focus is on exhaling. And the third is prana pana gati rudhva. Rudhva means literally, it actually means checking, or it means gati rudhva means to stop the movement. That means keeping both stationary. Keeping both stationary, keeping both prana and apana stationary means that becomes kumbhakam, right? So those of you who know something about pranayam, kumbhakam means to hold it. So one may say, in holding, how is there yajna? There is yajna in holding, because holding the breath means you are offering prana to prana and apana to apana. You understood? So that becomes the homa, the yajna. In the first part, prana was offered to apana. Second, apana was offered to prana. And in the third, prana is offered to prana and apana is offered to apana. Basically means you're holding your breath. So that's the second line. Prana pana gati rudhva pranayama parayanaha. Okay, so that is what is the second part of this line. Now, the 30th, the third part of this 4.29, if you see, is apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. Beautiful line that is. Krishna is saying, in order to achieve pranayama well, niyata aharaha, you must have control on your eating process. Okay, that means on your eating habits, you must have control. Only then you can do pranayama effectively. Okay, so that is what Krishna is saying. Pranan praneshu juhvati. If you want to do all these types of yoga, then you must have control on your eating process, without which there is no hope only of doing any pranayama properly. You cannot even sit down properly. What to speak of pranayama, right? So that is how Krishna is talking about these three types of yoga. So till now we have discussed 13 types of karma yoga, beginning with 4.25. And I hope all of you are able to appreciate this particular point here, that if somebody does even some of these, you actually develop the mindset where you will be able to practice karma yoga properly. We spoke about the mindset till now, till the last class or in the third chapter. But by doing all these things, you will be able to achieve that particular mindset. Okay, now the thing is, now somebody may say, Arey, okay, all this is fine, but what about that Varnashram? That has not come anywhere. Krishna is speaking about different types of karma yoga. Wo kahan par aaya? So that we are going to see in the 30th and 31st verse. You see the 30th verse, Sarve pyete yajna vido yajna kshapita kalmashaha. Sarve pyete yajna vido means, okay, so here what Krishna is talking about is sarve pyete yajna vido yajna khyapita kalmashaha yajna shishta mritabujo yanti brahma sanatanam. Okay, so now this word yajna, which is repeatedly being used here, Sripad Ramanacharya says, this refers to all types of nitya naimittika yajna, which has not been covered so far. Okay, which is like mandatory, which everybody has to do. So Ramanacharya says, till now these 13 types of karma yoga that we saw, these are all additional. But what is the basic yajna that one has to do? That is the yajna of doing your nitya naimittika karma. Nitya naimittika karma means first your proper varnashrama dharma. Okay, so somebody is a kshatriya, like Arjuna is a kshatriya. He cannot say that I'm not going to fight. I'm going to just sit and do this. No, that you have to do only. Besides that, you can look at one of these. These are all like optional things, add on. Okay, but that is fundamental. So that is what he talks as the yajna over here. So that, and all different types of basic yajna, which are not even spoken here, but which are all mandatory in the Vedic scriptures. Like Pancha Mahabhuta yajna is there. Na? That means Bhuta yajna, giving food to the living entities. Manushya yajna, giving food to guests. Pitri yajna, doing your whatever tarpana to your forefathers, departed forefathers. Then Deva Yajna, to please the various devatas, and Brahma Yajna, to recite the Vedic scriptures. So these are all fundamental yajna, which nobody can reject and say that I am going to now only do these. Okay, so he says that, when we do all these things well, then what happens? Yajna kshapita kalmashaha. Kalmashaha means your rajoguna, tamoguna will start getting cleaned up. So please try to appreciate this. Till now, we have always spoken that, if you do your karma yoga properly, even at the end of the 3rd chapter, when we discussed about kama, right, about lust and about the solution, Krishna had given solution to lust as karma yoga only, if you carefully see. And that's why it comes in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We had discussed this point in great detail earlier. The question is, how will you stop falling prey to lust? Answer to that is, Kalmashaha, Rajogun, Tamogun has to go away. And how is that going to go away? When you engage in the fundamental yajna. And that yajna is your Varnashrama yajna, your Nitya Naimittika, the duties that one has to do towards living entities, guests, and so on. And you take any of these 13 different types of karma yoga and do some of them. Then only you are going to be freed from Rajoguna, Tamoguna, the Kalmashaha. And when that happens, then what happens? Yajna shishta amritabhujo yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokostya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattamaha. This 31st verse is also very interesting. Nayam lokostya yajnasya kutonya kuru sattamaha. This is very similar to another verse in the third chapter that we saw, 3.13. Because in this verse, Krishna is saying that if you don't do these types of yajna properly, if you don't do your karma yoga properly, Krishna is saying there is no happiness in this world. What to speak of the next? Nayam lokostya yajnasya. That means even if somebody wants dharma, artha, kama and live in this world peacefully, you need to do all this. Okay, Nayam loko. In this loka, if you want, you need to do this. And if you don't do these yajnas, you cannot get that. And then what to speak of? Kutonya kurusattama. Kuto anyaha means what to speak of the other thing. What is the other thing? Moksha. Right? Moksha means you can include liberation, going back to Godhead, all that anyaha. So Krishna is saying that if you don't do this karma yoga, whatever I've described to you properly, you are not going to get anything, Arjuna, in this world only. What to speak of getting moksha or getting liberation? Okay, it all starts from this fundamentally. Okay, and without this, there is no question of that. And the last verse of the section with which we will stop today. Evam bahuvida yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidditan sarvan evam nyatva vimokshase. Such a beautiful thing, So this Krishna is summarizing everything. Evam bahuvida yajna. Bahuvida yajna means so many ways of doing karma yoga are there, which Krishna has described. They are all described as yajna, but it's the same as yoga. The yajna and yoga, Krishna uses interchangeably in this set of verses, right? Because the yoga, karma yoga is also considered as a yajna only. Evam bahuvida yajna, all these different types which we have mentioned, vitata brahmano mukhe, that means these are all mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. So Krishna is saying that this is not something that I have concocted, they are all approved by the Vedas. Here brahmano is Veda. Veda is considered as Brahma here. Karmajan viddithan sarvan. Okay. Karmajan, all these different types of karma, these are born from work. Karmajan viddhi, they are born from work. That's why we are calling this as karma yoga. Tan sarvan. Tan means the understanding behind karma yoga, which we already spoke from last time between 12 to 24. Sarvan means all these types of karma yoga. Okay. Nyatva vimoksha se. They all have the power basically to give you liberation. Okay, so when you follow all this properly, you can actually come up, Krishna says. Okay, and in this way, the third part of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Vividha Karma, different types of karma yoga have been mentioned, is complete, this section. And the final section is something that we will obviously look at next time. Okay, so just a 1 minute recap of what we did. We said that Veda Jnanasya Mahatmya. From Yamunacharya's verse, Veda means different types of karma yoga, I said. So we spoke about several types of karma yoga here, and almost 13 types of karma yoga Krishna are mentioned in the Gita. Just to revise, one is worshipping the devatas, fire sacrifice, then control of your senses, giving up attachment to sense object, control of the mind, and then objects to be sacrificed, dravya yajna. Then dravya yajna ke baad humne dekha tapo yajna, fasting, etc., some kind of tapasya. Then we saw yoga yajna, which I said as going to the holy places, holy tirtha, taking bath, etc. Then swadhyaya yajna, reading the Vedic literatures, and jnana yajna, reading or learning about Sanskrit grammar, reading astrology. That means Vedangas, basically, what is supportive to the Vedas. All these are called as karma yoga, different types of karma yoga. Then there were 3 types of pranayam, where in one there is the focus on inhaling, one on exhaling, and one on that kumbhaka, holding the breath. And besides this, there is your varnashrama dharma, and then there is nitya naimittika karma, which everyone has to do towards living entities, guests, and all that, pitra and all that. So all these totally become karma yoga. Okay, so when one does these, then only one will develop that consciousness which we have been speaking till now. So in some way, what we spoke today is basically part of abhidheya, right? Because this is about the process. Okay, any quick question? Yes, Vaibhav Prabhu, you are, sorry, yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Proji.
Yeah.
One is that you were talking about this Varnashram, doing the basics of Varnashram. But if we see that in today's world, those who are engaged in Varnashram kind of jobs, they are actually more miserable. And for example, somebody is trying to have a somebody.
No problem. Your daughter is crying.
No, not my. I am alone at home.
No problem.
Okay, so for example, we have GEV. Devotees may be engaged there in some kind of agricultural activities, some kind of basic varnashram related activities, and they may not be so happy rather than somebody in city life, who may be earning money through various ways. They may be leading a happier life. So how do you reconcile these both things?
Yeah. So see, so that is why one shouldn't just take one point and think that I can't do it. Okay, so if you see Krishna also in this particular chapter, so many types of karma yoga he has mentioned, right? So, okay, you may not be able to live according to the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, that standard of life. Somebody may be a software engineer, and one cannot change these things overnight, or rather one cannot change it so quickly also. It's not so easy to change it in the complex modern world. That part is accepted. But then what stops someone from doing so many other things? See, Krishna has given a whole bouquet of choices, right? He's speaking about so many things. as Karma Yoga. See, all these things are spoken as different types of Karma Yoga only. Okay, so while I do concede and certainly agree that when one has moved away from a particular traditional lifestyle, then it may be very difficult to go back to that immediately, or even in a 1 or 2 generations. So one may just do what is the needful, which is fine, which is absolutely fine. But even in that, the principles of Karma Yoga will have to be applied. That means even if you are doing your software job or somebody is doing corporate job, that doesn't mean the principle of Karma Yoga will not come. The principle of Karma Yoga is what? Having some level of detachment in that work, understanding that just because I have a body and a particular type of modes, I'm engaged in this type of activity, and to a great extent to see how the fruits can be used in the service of the Supreme. So in that also one can implement the principles. No one is saying that. So Karma Yoga is a very broad, application spectrum. Even in modern jobs, one may be able to do that. But besides that, my point here is that even in that emergency era when you may be living, there are so many other things that we saw. We saw 13 different types of Karma Yoga, like giving possessions,
Yeah,
giving.
but that is add-on, that you.
Yeah, I said that is add-on. That is add-on. But the fundamental, see, now the fundamental is, even in Varnashram, these 5 yagyas, they are considered fundamental to everyone. What I said, Bhuta Yagya, right? Giving food to animals around, giving, serving the guests, serving the forefathers who have departed or elderly at home. Deva Yagya. That is also called as fundamental. If you remember that Nitya Naimittika Karma, which I said, that is also called as fundamental only. That is not. So that's why I'm saying, so many things you can do, right? It's not that just because so many times in our ISKCON terminology or use of language, we sometimes emphasize only on that farm living as one aspect of it. As if only if you do that, then you're achieving Varnashram. That's just one aspect of it. It's an important aspect, but just because one cannot go to the farm and be with the cows and live like that, which is certainly not possible immediately for someone who is not connected to that type of lifestyle, that doesn't mean that the whole thing is useless. To see it like that is a severe problem, and to see whole Karma Yoga only as that thing, that farm and cow, that also I have a problem with it, because it's not like that. Even in previous time, there were towns, right?
Yes.
Okay, we may have not had cities like we have today, like New Delhi or Bombay, but the concept of town was always there. Dwarka was a city. Dwarka was not a rural area. Are you getting the point? Vrindavan was a rural area, even in Krishna's times, where they had Nanda Maharaj had 9 lakh cows and all that. Dwarka was a proper city. I mean, it had security, it had everything. Maybe only did not have IT park, which is there today. But other than that, it had all aspects of a modern city life. Okay, so to feel that urban life is against Varnashram, that is also a problem. One shouldn't see like that. That is too close to see. Is the point clear?
Yeah, and another thing is that, for example, you were mentioning about holy places. If you're going to holy places is also kind of Karma Yoga. But going there and making I mean, when, I recently visited Vrindavan, one doesn't feel like Vrindavan now. There are actually 5-star hotels to stay. And, I saw a few, few devotees staying in 5-star hotel. You don't feel as if you're in Vrindavan. It's as if you're in Delhi or Mumbai. And
no, that is because of our conditioning. See, the whole thing is, okay, even my point is, even if they are staying in the 5-star hotel, at least they will come out of that 5-star hotel in the day and walk and do parikrama around Govardhan Hill.
Yeah.
Correct. Now, whether they are devotee or whether they are not. So first of all, let's try to understand this. Here, when we're talking about Karma Yoga, this is applicable to devotees also. Only thing is that when you add devotional service to it, then you become a Bhakta Yogi. Correct, na?
Yeah.
But then, ye to sabke liye hai. There are normal people, I mean, quote unquote, who are not devotees of Krishna, also who are doing pilgrimage, going to pilgrimage places. So my point is, even if they're staying in 5-star hotel, that at night they need that comfort. Unfortunately, whatever, because of our lifestyle and habits, we need that, right? You need an attached bath. Most people can go to toilet only in a Western commode, right? They cannot sit in an Indian style toilet and respond to the nature also. They cannot bend only. Their knees don't bend. Correct. तो वो कंफर्ट के बिना वो होली प्लेस में जा नहीं पाएंगे. तो कम से कम at least in the daytime they are doing parikrama, something they are doing. They are touching the dust of Vrindavan. At least everybody in India, somewhere they remove their chappal also, right, when they are doing some type of parikrama.
Yes.
You know, and if you go around Govardhan Hill, so many people you see, right, ordinary people who are doing Dandavat parikrama, all types of parikrama. They are all simple people, right? I mean, they have not even understood great philosophy. Are you understanding the point?
Yes.
Right, like when you, I'm sure you have seen that when you go around Govardhan Hill, so many ordinary people are doing all types of parikrama there. दंडवत परिक्रमा करते रहते, 108 वाला दंडवत परिक्रमा करते रहते. कभी हस्बैंड वाइफ मिलके एक दंडवत परिक्रमा करते हैं. Husband does one dandavat, wife does one dandavat.
Yeah.
And as a unit, they complete that parikrama. My point is, see, please try to understand. According to the Bhagavad Gita, understanding comes later. First is engaging the senses. That's why if you remember in 3rd chapter also, when we were discussing Karma Yoga, Krishna said, Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya paratarshava. It starts with the senses. Then only mind and buddhi comes. तो मेरा ये कहना है कि even if these simple people who come to the holy dham don't know so much big philosophy, some of them may have not even heard the difference between body and soul, छोड़ो बाकी सब कुछ, but they have at least understood this much, that this is a holy place, मेरे को दंडवत करना चाहिए यहाँ पर, and they are engaging their senses. They are getting purified as per Bhagavad Gita. They are doing karma yoga only. Okay. Correct. So at least that much we can appreciate. Are you getting the point here?
Okay. And just the last point, that once you said that bhakti, even while doing bhakti, one should actually be engaged in doing karma yoga.
Yeah, just like all of us, we are all bhaktas in a sense that we are chanting 16 rounds, whatever. But are we exempt from this? At least from Bhagavad Gita perspective. See, please try to understand. A bhakta by definition doesn't have to do anything, karma and all that. Like if you see the Goswamis of Vrindavan and all that, they were not doing karma yoga technically, right? I mean, they were only bhaktas. But as far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, Krishna has spoken about Bhakti Yoga on top of Karma Yoga only, to Arjuna.
Yes.
Whereas Krishna told Arjuna that you stop your Karma Yoga and only do Bhakti Yoga. Correct.
So does that mean that Krishna says that you first do Karma Yoga and then comes to Bhakti Yoga?
Obviously. Why otherwise first 6 chapters of Gita are there?
But the focus within our devotee circle is that you forget about it, and Bhakti Yoga is...
Yeah, so Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate. That is agreed on. Sharanagati principle is the ultimate thing. But that ultimate is based on the foundation of Karma Yoga. At least if you open Bhagavad Gita, if you keep Bhagavad Gita aside, then you can teach anything you want. But Bhagavad Gita mein to waisa nahi hai na. It's very simple. Anybody can, I mean, there's no argument only against it. How can anybody say that in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna wants us to stop doing Karma Yoga and only do Bhakti Yoga? ऐसा कोई बोल ही नहीं सकता गीता टच करके. You can say that you can be a bhakta without karma yoga. That part I agree. Like Haridas Thakur was a bhakta, na? He was chanting 192 rounds.
Yeah.
Correct. He was not doing any type of literally karma yoga per se. I mean, you can't call Haridas Thakur, I'm giving an example, as a karma yogi per se. Because he is just an unalloyed, pure devotee of Krishna.
Yes.
But in the Gita, is Krishna asking Arjuna to be like that? My point is that, yes or no? Is Krishna asking Arjuna, you stop your duty now and you become, so Krishna's Sharanagati principle is built on top of this only. That's the point we are saying.
Yeah, but the point is that once you start doing something what Krishna says, that itself becomes Bhakti Yoga.
Not exactly. I mean, for example, Krishna has spoken about so many things here, right? I mean, Krishna has spoken about Karma Yoga where even he is not bringing himself into the picture. For example, Krishna here is talking about Devata worship as a type of Karma Yoga. So somebody may be doing Devata worship, he may not even be connected to Krishna, but that's still considered Karma Yoga only. Krishna has not yet come into the picture. It will be great. We want everybody to have Krishna. But the thing is, at least Krishna has kept Bhagavad Gita very broad based. That's the point. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Hare Bol.
All right. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Uddhav Anand Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you very much for a very interesting class, Prabhuji. Actually, I was having a parallel question to this because I was reading Garud Puran, and in Garud Puran, more technical implications about Varnashram.
One second. I think your son is not very happy with my class.
Yes, sorry.
No problem. No, what is there to be sorry about it? It's understandable.
Okay.
In case
So,
your wife is there around or something. Yeah.
yeah. He's taken care of. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was reading very interesting fact like the direct results. For example, if someone is Shudra, then the highest destination one can achieve is like Gandharvalok, and if someone is Kshatriya, he can highest planet which he can achieve is Indralok. So in that context, Prabhuji, what I feel is the Bhakti Yoga and this Karma Yoga, they are, if we put Karma Yoga also being a Bhakta, it's a little bit dangerous thing because then other things also in terms of result come into the life. For example, if we see the case of, let's say, Yudhishthir Maharaj or Arjun, so certainly they did the best of the bhakti, but at the same time they were following this Kshatriya principles and all these things also. And we see that when they left the body, immediately they didn't went back to Godhead, but they first went to Indralok, and then they exhausted their pious deeds, and then they went back to Godhead. So not very clear to me like what is to be done, because of course Karma Yoga is important background which we
Yeah.
have to practice.
No. One
But
second. Let's be very clear
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Karma yoga, right away, if you see yoga, when the word comes, na, it is mean connected to transcendence.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you remember our third chapter of Bhagavad Gita discussion, we very clearly said Karma yoga, first principle is Phalatyagam. Phalatyagam means give up the fruits of the work. And once you give up the fruits of the work, third chapter very clearly says you give up the fruit of pleasure also. That means the pious activities also you surrender to the Supreme. That means the goal of Karma Yoga is not to go to heaven. Come on, that is Karma Kanda. You're confusing between Karma Kanda and Karma Yoga.
Yes.
Karma Yoga ka goal heaven nahi hai. Okay, now Yudhishthir Maharaj and Pandavas went to heaven. That's a completely different thing. The Mahabharata presents it as a part of their journey to Krishna. Okay, so let's leave that point aside. That was not, it was, first of all, you cannot say that the Pandavas were practicing Karma Kanda. They were Bhakta Yogis only, very clearly. They were Sharanagata Bhakta, but their Sharanagati was on top of Karma Yoga. That is very clear, na? It was on based on their Varnashram only they were practicing. They had not given up that till the end. Okay, so let's not confuse Karma Kanda and Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is a transcendental process where even ordinary people in the world, in India, traditionally, they have done this Karma Yoga where they have just done whatever they did in their Varnashram or in whatever their puja, tapasya as an offering to Supreme. It's not that, everybody who does any of these things like going to holy places, they are thinking that I want something. No, it's not like that. I've genuinely met people as well, in family circles and elsewhere, of people who go to holy places, etc., not with any intention that हमको कुछ चाहिए आपसे भगवान. No, they're just doing it as a matter of duty. And that's Karma Yoga, where you are doing it in a detached spirit, just for the pleasure of the Supreme. Are you getting the point?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Haribol.
Yeah. Just one last point, because Prabhuji, I was reading in this Garud Puran that all the different Varna and ashram, even Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and even ashram also, if you see Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So it is described in Garud Puran, only a sannyasi goes back directly to Godhead. But otherwise, all of the different Varna and ashram, they have selective selective planets, and the person who follows those codes, they go to those particular planets, and their topmost planets are also mentioned, that these are the topmost planet where they go.
Agreed. Now,
So what
Prabhuji,
my question was, for going back to Godhead and to attain the highest goal of Bhakti Yoga, is it must for one to become a sannyasi, or what is
no,
the
Prabhuji,
criteria?
no. See, Prabhuji,
Okay.
see, the Garud Puran and all, they are talking in general for majority of the people. It is like that. But Bhagavat Puran does talk about so many Kshatriyas, right, who are Grihasthas only all their life. Didn't they go
Yeah.
back to Godhead? Ambarish Maharaj, Pandavas. भागवतम में कितने सन्यासियों के बारे में वर्णन है? It's mainly about Grihastha kings only. Correct?
Yes.
They were all
Yes,
doing
but
Karma
about
Yoga.
Pandavas, I was little bit confused, because Pandavas didn't went back to Godhead directly. And
No. See, this going directly, indirectly is not an important thing. If you see the Mahabharata, the Mahabharata is written by Vyasa to attract a very large kind of audience. So he stops at heaven. But in that heaven, whom is Yudhishthira Maharaj sitting with? Please read that. Yudhishthira Maharaj is sitting next to Krishna. Did you remember to read that in the Mahabharata? He is not in the heaven looking at some Apsara dancing. Krishna is there over there. Krishna ke samne baithe ho. I mean, that's considered as good as wherever Krishna is, that's the spiritual world, right? As in that sense. So the Mahabharata, see, the purpose of Mahabharata is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Na? It is attracting a very large kind of audience. Okay, but as far as devotees are concerned, let us have no question about it. The Pandavas, wherever they are, that is a spiritual world. Come on. I mean, if you read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it talks about the Pandavas being expanding. I mean, the same Pandavas are present in the spiritual world also. And the same Pandavas, one Amsha of there is there in this world, doing all these pastimes with Krishna. And in fact, one commentary says that Arjuna eternally is there in the material world because Krishna is always incarnating in some universe. Na? So whenever Krishna is there, Arjuna has to be there. Bhagavad Gita has to be spoken. Can you imagine? Arjuna is always there in the material universes only. So are we going to say Arjuna is a Nitya Baddha? No, he's an eternal associate of the Lord. And in one form, he is interacting with the Lord in the spiritual world. Another form, he and Krishna are traveling around all the universes, doing these pastimes to attract everybody back. Correct, na?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
And another thing you have to understand, the Pandavas and Krishna have some duty towards the Swargaloka Vasi also. Na? They have not gone to Swargaloka to see the dance of Menaka Ramba. They have gone there because Indra and all these other people are there. They have to attract them also back to the spiritual world, Baba. Aisa nahi. They have not come here only for us.
Yes. I never thought like that.
Yeah. Haribol.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very deeply clarified now. Yeah, Haribol.
Yeah. Last question, Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribol.
Prabhuji, if I heard correct, austerity is also part of Karma Yoga.
Which one?
Austerity.
Austerity. Yes. Yeah. Tapasya.
So Prabhuji, in which way I would like to understand a bit more about it? Like, in which way the austerity is part of that?
Okay. See, because the point is these are all different angas of Karma Yoga, which will help us develop that mood. See, we are saying that in Karma Yoga you have to develop Phalatyagam. Now, Phalatyagam, how will you develop? Unless literally you stop eating something on some day. Are you getting it?
Yes,
So the whole
Prabhuji.
idea, for example, of Ekadashi, which devotees follow, or so many people in India follow so many different types of fasting. Na?
Yes,
I mean,
Prabhuji.
broadly, I'm saying, I'm not talking only about devotees because here we are not talking only about Bhakta. Correct?
Yes,
There are all types of people in India, right? Who are doing, somebody is doing Ganesh Upwas, somebody is doing Upwas for Lord Shiva. So at least on that day, they are offering that result. Na? That result, everybody wants food. It's a basic need of the body. But some days, that urge, you are subduing that urge and you are offering that to that Devata.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Right? So that becomes a sacrifice. Na? Like for devotees of Krishna, on Ekadashi, not eating anything is an austerity, right? And we're doing that to please Vishnu. So when you are not eating, obviously your senses are subdued. And only when your senses are subdued, at least on one day, in 15 days, then that habit comes in your system of subduing things. And then only you can achieve the states of Karma Yoga that we said. Na? If you want to be Nishkama and all that, just like that, how will you become Nishkama? Every day, if we are simply enjoying morning and night, then how will we actually develop that consciousness of what is being expected?
Yes,
Correct.
Prabhuji.
So tapasya
Also,
towards a devata becomes a sacrifice. And all types of tapasya. So please remember, because here Krishna is not talking about only tapasya towards him, like Ekadashi Upwas. Here it is generally spoken. Because devata also has been spoken here. That means even the people. So why I'm emphasizing this point is, when we see people doing some kind of tapasya for some devata, etc., we need not outrightly condemn that. We can just encourage that and see how to bring that up, rather than saying that, hey, what are you doing? Are you getting the point?
yes, Prabhuji. So for Ekadashi, I will just share. I saw a post from a senior devotee in Vrindavan on Instagram, and there they explained why we should eat more on Ekadashi, because Prabhupada said that Ekadashi should not be fasting but feasting.
No,
And
I'm
they
sorry.
shared something.
Does it make any sense actually? It is. See, it's like you
Yeah.
can't just take. I mean, I would say that it is likely that they may have a proper code for it, because
Yes,
proper
yes,
things like
yes.
this said many things in different contexts, but
Yeah.
you can't take anything like
Maybe
this and make a whole mockery of the system,
maybe it
right?
was just for the people who just like mostly for foreigners who doesn't understand the
Yeah, I
concept of
don't know.
fasting at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah. I mean,
Prabhuji,
personally, I'm just yeah. So it is actually good to have some kind of tapasya on Ekadashi. Otherwise, there's no point. Only it's just
no
not
point.
fasting at all. It's you made a mockery of the whole system, right?
Yeah. Probably for children, we
Yeah.
do try to give them different things because they have to go to school also. But yeah, we are trying our level best, not reach that
But for
level, but
them also, it
yeah.
is some kind of austerity, right? I do agree. Children don't have to fast completely, but for them also, they learn, right? I can't eat sweet rice on Ekadashi. It's an austerity for
Yes,
them.
yes,
Okay, some simple food just to maintain the body and soul together, as we say. It's not that Ekadashi has to be so grand that the sense of fasting only is not there. Then somewhere the purpose is lost. That's the only point. I mean, that's one example, and there are so many people. In fact, sometimes I feel surprised. Even these Muslim people, they follow their Ramzan so carefully, right? At least morning to
yes,
evening, they fast on
yes.
that day.
Not even water, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yeah, not even water. I mean, I've heard that even they don't even consume their own saliva inside. I mean, whatever it
Yes,
is, their
yes, I
system may not
noticed.
be that scientific, perfect, or whatever, but at least they do that. So something has to be, some tapasya is there, and for us, fortunately, in our system, इतने सारे fasting के दिन रहते हैं ना, like Janmashtami is there, correct?
Yes,
Narasimha Chaturdashi is there, Ram Navami is there. So we have to observe those fasting days, na? We have to observe that as a yoga, as an offering to the deity whom we are trying to please, which is Lord Ramachandra, Narasimha, etc. We cannot just say that. I mean, if somebody is sick or something, then that's okay. But normally, it's not like that. Yeah.
Prabhuji,
Hare
one more small thing. One more
Yeah.
small thing, Prabhuji. Like you said that when we go, like if we are going to a dham, because you'll agree, our children are not habituated to the kind of houses we had. They are living in much opulent houses. So we do try to stay in a very simple place so that they should also learn that it's not always uh, it's comfort all the time. But if we stay in a better place, does that make it any less? Like though you explained that
No,
you
I
are
don't find
walking
that as a
out of
problem. I personally don't find that as much of a problem. See, because I just feel that it depends on the background from where one comes. If one has been used to a very comfortable lifestyle at home, which is the case for most of the people in urban cities today, at least when they go to Dham, see, even if you are staying in a very nice hotel with good facility, the purpose is not to stay in that hotel, right? The purpose is that
purpose is
hotel is only
to,
for the night. When we go to Holy Dham,
yes,
only at night we come back.
yes,
Entire
yes.
daytime we are outside only doing parikrama, going to temples, taking bath in the holy river and all that. So if somebody wants that comfortable also, I don't find that personally as a problem, because at least that much is getting achieved, right? Otherwise the person may not even come there.
Mostly it is for children, Prabhuji, because now it's time we start shaping them. So that's why I thought
Yeah,
I'll
I
ask you,
agree. I
should we
agree. So I
consider
don't
that?
personally find that as a very big fault or a problem. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, that's the reality of our existence. Why your children? Even most of us, we need that, right? We need a clean room. We need a proper bathroom. Everything
Yes,
is
yes.
needed, right? Otherwise you're distracted. Otherwise you're going to the holy place and then you're thinking, my God, tomorrow when I go to the bathroom, it would be so dirty. Then you cannot
Absolutely.
focus on the holy dham. Your focus is on the toilet after going there. So what is the use of that? So I don't see that as a big thing. Yeah.
Prabhuji, Kanyakumari was my first yatra, Kanyakumari Rameshwaram, and I did face that, and I actually cried that I want to go back. So because
Yeah, I
I did not
remember, because
see.
in those yatras we had this dormitory accommodation, and
Yes,
that is very
yes,
difficult, very austere. Yeah,
Yes.
that's when you go in such a large group, it is like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, slowly we got adjusted. But now I just wanted to ask so that we can shape our children like that. So that's
Yeah,
why
yeah.
the question came up. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you,
of course,
Prabhu.
we don't need a swimming pool and that type of
Yes.
facility, 7-star hotel. But I would say at
Yes.
least a decent room, bed, and a proper bathroom. That much is there, it's enough, whatever it is. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Haribol.
Srila Prabhupada ki